when a person can't steward, their day-to-day job at work, right? You have a contract. All right, I'm going to pay you $50,000 for you to do this assignment, this job title or whatever, right? And they can't even steward the assignments at work, right? They show up to work late, or they're leaving early, they're not meeting project deadlines, they're insubordinate in some areas, or, that $50,000, right? They're in debt, they have a 500 credit score, they're not paying their bills on time, stuff like that. So if you can't steward $50,000, why would anybody bless you with $250,000? So it's not, the problem is not always I need more stuff. It's how can I manage what I have that will help me get to the next level? Because if I'm faithful with the 50 grand, guess what? I'll be able to manage and steward 100 grand.
Yep. And, I like that because that makes me think about raising money, right? Everyone's always like, I never raised money before. I never, how am I going to tell the investor that I can flip this house or buy this rental? Well, what I learned going into politics, I started saying the same thing new real estate investors say, but in a new industry. And I'm like, who's going to donate money to me? Who's going to endorse me? Like,
Uh-huh.
it's the same who's going to vote for me? And a gentleman was like, do you have a family? Yeah. Well, your kids, yeah. Right. Do you have a business, a job this whole time? All right. He's basically painted my family picture, my personal life. He's like, well, that takes a lot. Your kid's
Yeah.
still making it. He went, he's out of the home. He went through school. He played sports. Like you did good. So a lot of people struggle even with that. And you could speak on that, right? So that goes to, so what I'm saying, like the people listening, like if you're an engineer or you're a manager at your job and you run a grocery store, or you get what I'm saying, like you can use that stewardship that you do in your daily basis to go to investor, like, hey, I stocked so many shelves. I was number one this month, employee of the month. And anyways, we could leverage that.
Yep.
I'm trying to make it
Yep.
into something, but yeah, so we all have that stewardship somewhere.
So I remember talking to an investor, and we were talking about raising capital, and they said that I would never lend money to a person that cannot show a simple process. Can they follow a simple process, right? Because it takes stewardship, diligence, and accountability to follow a defined process. So if
Mm.
you're a landlord and you have one door, right? What's your process with that one door, right? And then you just mirror that process to two doors. So he was saying, I would never lend money to anyone that cannot manage their own life, their own processes, their own finances. So he was like, yeah, I asked to look at their credit score, not to know what their money is, but to know how they transact, right? So he was like, I'm not going to trust you with my money if you can't trust yourself with your own money.
Love it. That makes so much. That was a good one though. If you can't even handle a $50,000 job, how do you think you're gonna make? I think the big goal everyone starts with is 100K, right? I want to make 100K in investing. Yeah, if you can't even do what it takes to keep your job, yeah. So great point.
Yep.